Vocabulary Control LS587. Vocabulary Control. When richness become a problem. This is a sounds like a paradox, but it's true. We have to have vocabulary control because we cannot use natural language. In other words, we cannot use the richness of our language. It doesn't matter which one, English, Spanish, Chinese, etc. We have words and words in each of the language. We have hundreds or thousands of words that sometimes may mean the same or not. They may be synonyms, though many authors believe that there is not a perfect synonym. So that's why we have to have so many words, because we have to be able to communicate feelings, thoughts, philosophy, knowledge, information, etc. So we use many words. However, that becomes a problem when we want to index, or when we want to catalog, or when we want to search. Okay, so the only solution that we have found for the richness of our language, of our vocabulary, is to have a control vocabulary, because a control vocabulary limits the number of words, the number of synonyms, the number of antonyms that we can use either to index or to search. Remember, the use of control vocabulary may go in both ends. It may go into the index end, or to the beginning of the technical process, and also goes to the other end, the interface with the information seeker or the patron. So one way to avoid the problem of natural language or having many words is to have a control vocabulary. And a control vocabulary means that we have a consistent set of words to be followed when indexing. Those are authorized terms. It is artificial language. It's a group of people that get together and within a discipline and defines, okay, these are the words that we are going to use, which means this or that. Okay, it is restricted terms as opposed to natural language. In natural language, there are not restrictions. And also, we are going to use a control vocabulary to search. It optimizes retrieval and search. So here we have the paradox. The paradox is that we cannot index using natural language. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say we cannot. No, we can use index using natural language, of course. But in terms of precision and optimization, I guess it is better to use control vocabulary. So it is not that we cannot do it. Yes, we can do it. And we're going to say something about that a little bit later. We can use natural language too for indexing. But however, in terms of precision, I guess it is better to say that we should be using control vocabulary. And what I was saying before in the preceding slide is that yes, we can use natural language for indexing. It's called natural language system, and nowadays it's popular because we can do a full text search. So in other words, for the information seeker, for the patron, or for the helper, for the professional librarian, we could do full text search. And when we do full text search, we have to use the language of the author. Okay? Let's say we're searching a paper, an academic or a research paper, and we have the ability to do full text search, and we do in many databases. Or we have the ability to search the title, or the abstract, or the text, the work itself. Well, if we're going to search that way, We may use keywords. We may use an abstract, but we have to understand that we are searching within the context of that piece of work. So we are not using control vocabulary. We are trying to match the patron's vocabulary, our vocabulary, with the vocabulary set there by the author, okay, by the creator of the document. So there is no manipulation from the indexer. When we use a natural language system for indexing, there is not the manipulation of the indexer. In other words, there's not an indexer who assigned previously control vocabulary. No, the search goes directly to the language of the author, of the creator of the document. So the language comes from authorship. Okay, there is not this step in which the indexer use control vocabulary to index the document. Okay, so yes, we can do indexing by using the natural language system indexing. Yes, it's possible, and if you have read the textbook, there are two camps. One camp is the camp that believe that the natural language system is more efficient because we don't need an interpretation of the indexer. And there's another camp that says no, we need the interpretation of the indexer to assign control vocabulary. Okay, so again, we can do both, or it's better if both are available. I, for one, I like natural language systems, but I understand that there is the necessity also to have control vocabulary. Now, what is a control vocabulary system? It's more consistent. We have a stable search. It's standard. We use authorized words from a word list of which is a thesauri or thesaurus if we're talking about one. It is structured. It reduces ambiguity, and what it is important for me, it increases precision in the search. Okay? Because both the indexer and the searcher, in this case the professional librarian, are going to use the same tools. In this case, they are going to use a word list or a thesaurus. That means then that the retrieval will have more precision. Indexing language, and this is another distinction that we can use. One is assigned term and the other one is derived term. When we use assigned term, it is based on subjective interpretation of whom? Of the indexer. It requires intellectual effort. In other words, the indexer have to understand the work, the text, the photography, the paint, etc., in able to assign terms. Okay, it's a work of decision making. Here we use headings or subject headings, or we use a thesaurus or the thesaurus, or we use a list of words, and we assign the terms. Those are tools for the indexer. On the other hand, we have the derived term or the natural language indexing, and this is what we do when we use the words that are in the text. We use the words of the author, and terms are taken from text. And here we have some examples of derived terms. For example, author, citation, natural terms are derived terms. So we can approach indexing from one or the other. Machines, computers, for example, if we use a computer, we can index a book by using derived terms. and the computer will make the decision for us, I'm sorry, to design which terms to index. Okay, so we can see this distinction here between the assigned term and the derived term, and what we call control vocabulary or natural language or natural vocabulary. I guess natural language is the correct term. Now, when we do vocabulary control, we use authority list. These are formal lists of words. For example, subject, heading, and thesaurus. Okay? And these are also what we call authority control devices. And these are indexing tools too. For example, classification schemes, subject headings, and the thesaurus. Here we're going to see a thesaurus. We're going to talk about the thesaurus. By the way, in Latin, thesauri means several and thesaurus mean one. It is control vocabulary. Its purpose is consistency and precision, indexing and searching. And I please want to make sure that you understand that for in order to have more precision in searching, it is better to use it is better to use, it is recommended to use, it is a professional way to use a thesaurus. We're going to have more precision in retrieval. Okay, and one example that I have here is the thesaurus for graphic materials. It's in the Library of Congress website, and there you can see the link. Please go and visit that thesaurus. So we have other examples later. How do we evaluate a thesaurus? We have to think about authority. We have to think about proven usefulness. They have to have regular revision, and they have to be easy to use. Here, in my opinion, authority, of course, it's very important who produces that thesaurus. Proven usefulness, of course, it is useful to index and it is useful for searching. And does it have regular revision? And why does it have to have regular revision? Because we are constantly adding new terms. Constantly. And if you go to the Library of Congress subject heading webpage, you will see how they are adding new terms all the time. And they explain what the process is. The example that I have here is the thesaurus for graphic materials. And this is a structure. This is a current structure. We have the term, we have the use, we have the facet note, we have the scope note, we have the UF that stands for use for right here, or the BT that stands for broader term, NT stands for narrower term, RT it's related terms, other terms that are synonym or that are related, and notes for catalog. And let's see now an example. Okay, let me put this a little bit smaller so we can see it here. Remember, you can always I always put this presentation as a video, but you can download the presentation itself. Here we have a term, an index term or entry called abandoned buildings. Okay, abandoned buildings. And the scope note here says, for vacant, possible, dilapidated buildings, search under ruins for the remains of structures. And it is used for UF, deserted buildings or vacant buildings. A broader term, in other words, and this is very important too, and I forgot to mention this, the advantages of having a thesaurus or a list of words is that we have a structure. This is in the discipline, we have the structure of the discipline, and one of the ways to see the structure of the discipline is by looking at the thesaurus. and this is part of the structure. Uh, Abandoned buildings, it's under the broader term buildings. You see? Because there, that way we can see the structure of the thesaurus. And by seeing the structure of the thesaurus, actually we're seeing the structure of the discipline. In this case, the discipline is graphic materials. Of let's say for the subject matter, the subject matter is graphic materials, and we are seeing the structure of the subject matter here by seeing the other terms, such as related terms, used for, and broader terms. And related terms here are building deterioration, ghost towns, and ruins. You see, this is how the thesaurus works. This is control vocabulary. This is not natural vocabulary. Another example is meteors. That's another entry here. And let me fix this here too. Put it smaller here. Okay. And here we have scope note. Small interplanetary masses that enter the Earth atmosphere at such high speed that a streak of light or luminous trail appears. If such a mass lands on the ground, it's called a meteorite. So here's the definition of the meteorite, and it is used for falling stars and shooting stars. The broader term, again, here we have a broader term, here we have the structure of this subject matter, is celestial bodies. So under celestial bodies we have meteors. Okay? And this is what it is important about control vocabulary. Of course, you can, and I would recommend that you go to the Library of Congress web page and see other examples of thesauri and control vocabulary. Every discipline, every academic discipline has a thesaurus or control vocabulary. Why? Because indexers, and when you become a subject librarian, you will be using those indexing tools or searching tools. Again, indexing is one side. Let's say it's the beginning, but at the end, when we want to access that information, we will be using the same tools, not for indexing this time, but for searching. Okay? Remember that our mission as librarians, even if we are not going to do indexing or abstracting, our mission is to understand that there are some tools that we can use, such as a list of words or a thesaurus, that will help us have more precision, and we will be more efficient and effective when doing searching, and enable our patron to access the information.